What gives a life value? Is it what you do with it? Is there an intrinsic value of life? I ask you in regards to the latter, is the life of a cockroach equal to that of a human? That is to say, if you had to press a button to save one over the other, how long would you hesitate? For many, they would hesitate only long enough to laugh or judge whether this was a trick question. The answer seems so obvious, does it not? So now we establish that all lives are not equal. Please keep in mind I, like many of you, put a lot of value on life, both my own and that of others. And I, like many of you, put a high value on justice. The issue is it ever fitting to take someone's life as punishment for deeds they have done? Some may find this a capital idea, others may disagree. As part of a society, we must consider and make decisions regarding moral dilemmas our culture faces. The first basis for this need is justice and morality. How many of you would call yourselves fans of murderers? Rapists? How about when it happens to children? There needs to be punishment for these people. Those actions are not okay. The question is whether a life free of need and struggle is a just punishment for these crimes. In a system without the death penalty, this is what these criminals receive. Why should these people get to keep their lives when they have ruined the lives of others? It gets better. As taxpayers, you are paying to support them. What kind of taste would be in your mouth knowing that a portion of what you work for is going to put food on the table for the person who raped and murdered your daughter? Probably not as good a good one as in theirs. Another point is just this: money. One out of every 9 prisoners is serving a life sentence in the United States, according to the Sentencing Project, which has worked for 30 years to promote a fair justice system. And this number has been drastically rising as time goes on, as one would expect. The Vera Institute has determined that the average prisoner costs about $32,000 a year to maintain. According to models created with the Bureau of Labor Statistics data by sociologists, this put the average prisoner on the cusp of being in the middle class. This is not a just reward. Using this data, if the death penalty were used in place of life imprisonment, the United States would be saving $4.3 billion a year, a number that will only increase as time goes on. And this money could be put into things such as education and healthcare that could benefit society as a whole, or, in Michigan, roads. The solution to these problems is simple. Institute the death penalty in the remaining states of the U.S. In addition to solving these problems, fear of the death penalty may lower crime rates. Studies have shown that in countries where the death penalty is instituted for certain crimes, the rate of that crime goes down significantly. That's not to mention that prison life in the U.S. is relatively comfortable to that of other countries, let alone the possibility of parole arguments, only lessening the severity of punishment for these crimes. The largest argument against the death penalty is the risk of false punishment. According to National Geographic, the time it takes to free someone wrongly accused in these cases has gone down over time, and a current issue with false imprisonment is that many prisoners are being reduced from the death penalty to life imprisonment, which thereby creates less of a drive to put resources into exonerating them. The purpose of life imprisonment is that it prevents the need to make any decision to take any responsibility in a serious case, and this is harmful to not only innocents, but to people in society that are regularly working. I believe that by imposing a limitation on the time that somebody is convicted to the time they are allowed to be executed would give ample times to sort out and reduce the number of innocent people given any sort of punishment. By implementing the death penalty for serious crimes everywhere, not only should we see a serious reduction in crime, but also the benefits of the financial alleviation. Yes, the government works slow, but long-term we could see an improvement, mostly looking at education and in civil programs. If we don't do this, we will see no change in the rising violent crime rates, and also, quite potentially, we falsely accuse people in prisons for lack of attention to their case. Remember that the life sentence is largely used as a tool to sweep things under the rug and forget about them, and we don't want this occurring to innocents, nor should we want to see this as the society that we are. So how do we implement this change? How do we get it done? The answer is really quite simple. You let your representatives know that you aren't opposed to the death penalty as long as proper examination is involved. Let them know that you aren't afraid of justice being meted out in a timely manner, and that you aren't afraid of having more money around for society's benefits in place of benefiting criminals. If that isn't enough for you, when you contact them, tell them that you demand such justice. All in all, the only reason to continue with life imprisonment is to avoid making a decision that, although very serious in nature, really isn't that hard to make.